Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the 6 Talk series hosted by Him Care Up. I'm John Pinto from Thoughtful, a digital mental health company that aims to make mental health care seamless, affordable, and accessible to all. Now, you can find our app, Thoughtful Chat, at Google Play Store as well as the Apple App Store. Now, today we are here to talk to two very distinguished guests. But before I begin, I want to say, first of all, thank you for those of you who are putting up your comments on the live stream. I can see all your comments over here. It's very encouraging. Happy Wednesday and good afternoon to everyone. Now, I want to say that throughout this session, it would be great if you could keep the comments and the questions coming, flooding into the comment box. And also, there will be, please stay tuned until the end because there will be a lucky draw. And it's going to be slightly different from the previous T-Talk sessions this time. So how it's going to work this time is that the first 10 people who share the live broadcast to their friends on their profile will receive a prize from our sponsors at the end of the session. So I repeat that again. If you want to receive a prize, you need to be among the first 10 people who would share this live broadcast to your friends, right? So please stay tuned until the end of the session to find out who gets the prizes. Right, so, okay, so today we're going to talk about the need for connection in aging, right? So studies have shown that social connection serves as a protective factor that is positively correlated with emotional well-being. As much of the world faces an aging population, the need for social connection becomes particularly important for older adults who may face specific life stresses that are unique to them. With me today are two distinguished guests who will be speaking on the topic entitled Social Connection is Key as You Age. Now, I'm going to introduce our first guest first. Right, so our first guest here is Dr. Akima Salehuddin. Now, Dr. Akima is the head of the geriatric unit in Hospital Pengajar University Putra, Malaysia. She's a geriatrician from UPM, graduated in 2007 with a medical bachelor and bachelor of surgery from Jordan. She was awarded a membership of Royal Colleges of Physicians in the UK to practice as an internal medicine specialist in 2014. She has clinical experience both in Malaysia and the UK, and has also led a project on the development of a Malaysian undergraduate geriatric medicine curriculum. Aside from that, Dr. Akima has also co-authored a few books for the SPM, the Malaysian Education Certificate, vocational subject textbooks on gerontology and geriatrics. And she's also a researcher in the Malaysian Research Institute on Aging, My Aging, and as well as a council member of Fragility Fracture Networks Malaysia. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Akima.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, John, for a very thoughtful and kind introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Akima.
So thank you, ImCare Hub and My Aging, for extending the invitation to invite me today. May I have my slide, please? All right, thank you. So for the following 15 minutes, hopefully I would really able to convince you on how important is social connection, but I'm pretty sure everyone here know about that already. It's really, really important, okay? So basically social connection is a hidden key to many doors, okay? So people might know this, but then they keep it hidden, okay? So some people doesn't want to socialize. They blame it on the personality. It's just me, right? Okay, so at the end of the lecture, so hopefully we can have some tips how to tackle this person and get them out to socialize with us, okay? Right, so next please. Next slide, please. Oopsie.
There's a slight technical problem. Just stay tuned. Right, so while we try and fix the connection problem, the slight technical issue. I want to remind those of you who came in a little bit late again that we will be having a lucky draw at the end of the session. Now, I just want to remind you that it's going to be slightly different from what we had in the previous sessions. So this time, the first 10 people who share the live broadcast to their friends will be chosen to receive a prize from our sponsors. So if you haven't done so already, please share the live sessions to your friends. All right, so we're back. Back to you, Dr.
All
Akima.
right. Thank you. Okay, so my next slide will be talking about what WHO, our World Health Organization, and United Nations say about loneliness. Okay, so social isolation and loneliness among older people are widespread. Okay, so 1 in 3 older people are actually lonely. Okay, in some countries. Next, please. So we're going to talk about loneliness versus socially isolated. Okay, so what are the difference? Okay, so they might seem the same, like loneliness and social isolation, but basically, um, uh, social isolation is the key things, yeah, that can contribute to loneliness. Okay, and these two things are basically interconnected that can cause further um, negative health issues like depression. Okay, so like hopelessness. Okay, so social isolation actually growing health, social and economic concerns. It's actually the pain when we feel when our social connections do not meet our needs. Because this is when loneliness is. For example, I always give the example. You live in a house with 5 person. Okay, with 5 person in that house. So basically, the person are your kids. Okay, your grandchildren, your husband, maybe some, maybe one maid. Okay, so a lot of people around of you, but you feel lonely. Okay, when the connections basically doesn't meet our needs. Okay, when we don't speak to our grandchildren and we don't speak to them, or they don't speak to us in a way that we want them to speak to us. Okay, so maybe the topic not are not suitable, okay, or we are not really catching up with the intergenerational gaps, things like that. Okay, so this happens. Okay, we like to talk about, old drama like P. Ramlee, Saloma. They don't talk about that. They talk about Korean drama, right? Okay, so you might feel this lost somehow. So we will feel loneliness despite being surrounded of people, with people. Okay, so and then another thing is social isolation is quite different because social isolation basically you are alone. Okay, you're having a smaller number of social contacts. Okay, you may be living alone, and you do feel this type of loneliness by being alone. Okay, so this is called social isolation. Okay, so these are interconnected, but I hope you really know that people can be lonely even though they are with other people. Okay, right, next please. Okay, so among the content of my talk will be what consists social connection and healing through socialization, and then the opposite of socialization and what's the conclusion be like. Yeah, okay. So next please. Right. So what consists social connection? Okay, so basically being a human, we are actually a social being. Okay, we are different from animal because animal, even though they are like in one group, like birds, can birds, parrots are birds, pigeon are birds, hen are birds, right? Okay, so but they don't basically interconnected. Okay, so they don't socialize within the birds family, seems like that. And moreover, they don't socialize interspecies also. Okay, like hen and let's say cat, or let's say dogs. Okay, they don't sort of interconnected. No, they don't have that things. Okay, but human, we can have this connection between human and human. Despite having different language, we somehow connect. Yeah, okay. So the first time when we talk different language, sometimes we connect. Okay, and we do have this connection interspecies. Okay, so we can even talk to parrot. Parrot can talk to us. Okay, so we can talk to a dog. The dog can understand what we say when we say sit, let's go run, catch this. Yeah, so they somehow understand us. So that's how human basically have this interconnection okay, with others, because this is us. Okay, we are actually a social being. Okay, like microbe, like amoeba. I'm sure John know when we study biology, John, during our secondary school. Amoeba is basically an asexual being. So how they reproduce is basically they divide their own nucleus and make a waste in between, right? Like this, like two, and then they just divide themselves. Okay, they don't have to have any social connection. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, so being a social being, okay, being us human as a social being, that's how we are born, that's how we are, our nature. It matters directly to our happiness and well-being. So it's our nature, so we should be in line with our nature. Okay, so it's happiness and ensure our well-being. So how we can connect is having a group that shares same interests. Okay, and then we can help other people as well. Okay, studies have shown that volunteerism, okay, helping other people is a way to connect, and it might help depression. Okay, it might help our low mood. Okay, it might boost our immunity, boost our self-esteem. Okay, by helping other people. Having pets, okay, like I said, so pets basically is an interesting finding that they are actually a social conduit. So in a neighborhood where there are a lot of pets now, dogs, cats, they found that this neighborhood with pet are basically socially stronger connected. They're connected stronger than the neighborhood who doesn't have pets. Okay, somehow the having pets, they walk the dogs together, yeah, okay, and maybe they share the tips, okay, how to take care of the dogs, how to take care of the pets, things like that. So having pets itself basically can increase the social connection. Okay, and pets as well, it's not just social conduit between human and human, yeah, but then it's also improve our well-being as well. We call it pet therapy, yeah. Okay, and then last but not least is, remember, during the pandemic, you need to be engaged with media social, right? Okay, next please. Right, so healing through socialization, a lot of ways, okay, and then a lot of impact of it. So one is the religion and the spirituality, okay, so how our religion, how our spiritual understanding, or our spiritual how and faith, okay, ask us, okay, recommend us to actually socialize, okay, gather weekly sermon, kan, every Sunday, every Saturday. Okay, we need to do this. Okay, sometimes daily, right? Morning prayers, kan, you go to the temple, synagogue. Okay, daily. And if Muslims, 5 times per day. Yeah, so 5 times per day. Okay, prayers, things like that. Go to the mosque. Okay, things like that. Okay, so why? Why? If it is not important, then our religion might just say, no problem, don't need to socialize. Okay, because this is important, to be together, remind each other, okay, help each other, okay, things like that. It's actually a brain stimulation, okay, whereby when you meet people, okay, when you meet people, you might, yeah, you tend to see if it is okay, okay, if they have any problem, okay, what's happening to their life today, okay, things like that. So this connection basically stimulate the brain by going out itself. Yeah, when you stay in the house, compare to when you go out to the park, it's already a brain stimulation to you, okay, seeing surroundings and everything. It's also physical exercises, because in order to connect to people, you need to go out. Okay, it's different when it is a virtual conversation like this, yeah, face to face. So these physical exercises might not be true, yeah, but then in a normal situation where you need to go out, okay, to meet people, okay, hangouts, so these are the type of physical exercises, yeah. Volunteerism, helping others, we talk about this. This also heals us, okay. And last but not least would be our mental health, okay, by socialization. Right. So next, please. So these are the ways to connect. I'm pretty sure Dr. Sanjita will talk about this in detail. Where we have a face-to-face, like classes, yeah. gym classes, aerobic classes, yoga classes, okay, virtual like this, okay, so ways to connect. And then you have emails, it's quite traditional, right, emails, and social media platform, right, okay. So next please. Okay, so a more serious thought, okay, a more serious thought on the note that why people don't socialize. Yeah, okay. Sometimes they are fear. Okay, so like in the pandemic, it's normal to have to have fear of infection during the pandemic, especially in the beginning. But I think nowadays when we got our second vaccine and then our booster vaccine, it might reduce the fear so much more. Yeah, and personality type. Okay, if you got an introvert personality or extrovert personality. And the third personality type is I've just known that there is also ambivert personality. I'm sure John knows about this. Yeah,
Mhm.
ambivert. Yeah, where sometimes you feel extrovert, sometimes you feel ambivert, sometimes you feel introvert. Yeah, so it depends on your personality type as well. Okay. Living environment, like we said before, alone, and then you're not living in a friendly neighborhood. Okay, so these are the risk factors. Your occupation type. Okay, you are working in the lab all the time. Okay, or you're working alone. Okay, some people needs this, the occupation, the type of occupation that needs this. Okay, like you are a full-time writer. Okay, sometimes you're a full-time writer, or we need to be alone. Okay, but doesn't mean you are lonely. Okay, so that's different lah. So occupation type, yeah. So sometimes when we work, but that is our occupational type, like the postman. Can you work alone? You go everywhere, but you work alone. Um, People in the lab, okay, you work alone. Okay, things like this occupational type. Sometimes it affect what you do after you retire. Yeah, you're not used to meeting people. You're not used to share ideas. Things like that. Yeah. So pre-existing mental health condition, this is the things that we know. You are underlying depression, you don't want to go out. Yeah. If you are chronically ill, yeah, if you got knee pains, these are the things that hinder socialization. Vulnerable groups. Okay, this is where we need the policymakers, okay, to ensure that socialization must be part of our national policy. Okay, call it penuaan sejahtera. Yeah, okay, so this is national policy of older people. This must be a part of policy, socialization, because we sometimes forget these vulnerable groups, all people in care homes. Once they are put in care homes, they will not socialize anymore. Okay, so care homes nowadays, they must have a central place where they need to come in the morning, eat together, sit together, socialize. Okay, exercises. Okay, that's a good model of care homes. Yeah, rural area. Okay, where there are no internet. Okay, so that's quite difficult, and this is a risk factor where our government basically needs to address this. Yeah, so internet must reach down until the rural area that are difficult to reach. Yeah, things like that. Next, please. Right. Okay. What if I hate to socialize? Yeah, I hate to socialize. It's tough being an introvert. Okay, when someone is telling you about how important it is to socialize, oh wait, I just realized I don't care. Yeah, but then it is important to socialize, right? Next. Next, please. Okay. So, well, the study have shown that most people who doesn't want to socialize, they are actually anxious. Okay, some anxiety because they don't know anyone in the event, or they not like the event itself. Yeah. So some anxiety because you don't know what will happen. You don't know what to talk. What if people don't like me? Right? Okay, things like that. Yeah, some anxiety. So what you can do is you do some research. Okay, you study about the event, who you may meet. Okay, maybe their background. Okay, um, and then set a goal. Say, I will meet 3 new people, then I'll go home. Okay, even though I don't like to go to that event, so set a goal. So when you have set a goal, like 3 people, I'll meet 3 people, new people, and then I'll go home. They are the feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, that you are actually achieved something. You are socialized on that day. You are socializing on that day. Okay. Some don't like shallow conversations. Okay. Yeah. So some people doesn't like. I don't like to go to that event because they don't talk something that I like. Yeah. So in the clinic, when the patient with dementia, patient with depression came to my clinic, I do ask this whether they like to socialize or not, whether what type of conversations they like. Yeah. So most of them said, my friends who I like to talk about things that I like to talk about, the friends already passed away. Yeah. So it's really difficult to find a new friends who click really fast. Yeah. And it's quite difficult to find a new friends who understand their needs or their the type of conversations that they like. Yeah. So I really think that we need to have this fluidity of um, communications. Yeah. Where if we really have a rigid uh, thinking, right, we say that we like this topic only, we don't want to talk about other topics, and it's quite difficult. It's really quite difficult. And these are the kinds of people with depression who needs counseling. Okay, so I might refer to John later. Okay, so that is actually the perks of meeting new people, right? We talk about something casual, not something deep. Okay, and another perks of meeting new people is we talk about something that we don't know, that people know very well and we don't know. So you can ask that people, okay, tell me more about that. Yeah, okay, so these are the perks that actually meeting a new people. Okay, and then don't forget spending time outdoors in a small group. Okay, if you don't like big events sometimes make you feel anxious. Too many people, too many noise. Okay, so you have to spend time outdoors in small groups. So that's still socialization. That's still good, right? Okay. So I think next slide would be my last slide. Yeah. So social isolation and loneliness among older people are harmful. Okay. They shorten older people's lives. Okay. They damage their physical and mental health. Okay. And then they reduce their quality of life. Yeah. So we've talked about aloneness and loneliness. Okay, they are two different things. Yeah. The most dangerous one is loneliness. Yeah, it's not really aloneness, but feeling lonely. Benefits of having a strong social network are really evidenced everywhere. Okay, ways to connect, we discussed about that just now, and more to come. I think that Sanjita will talk about that some more. Handling people who refuse socializing. Yeah, how we can go out and then talk to 3% and I'll go home. Okay, so maybe that's our personality. We don't like to meet people that much. Law and policy on social connectedness. Okay, so this is important. It's not just us. Okay, it's not just our environment, but the law and the policy must be involved as well, like age-friendly environments. So how do you make housing, a new housing nowadays has an age-friendly environment? Yeah, okay. So where the curbs in the lawn or in the shoulder of the road, right, it's not that high. Okay, and they have ramps everywhere so that all the wheelchair can go up, go to the park, things like that. So these are a new law that we need to enforce for a new town that is being developed. Yeah. Okay, so PAWE, Pusat Aktiviti Warga Emas. So this is one of our policy, and then University of University of Third Age. Yeah. Okay. So this is to ensure social connectedness. All right, so that will be my last slide. Thank you very much. I think that's another slide is the last one. Yeah. So how do you connect with your kids or the or the granddaughter? Yeah, by drawing, reading books. Okay. So sometimes we just need to go down to their level and then connect the way that they are comfortable for 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 quality time together. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I'll leave the podium back to John.
Thank you, Dr. Akima. It was a very, very, I would say it's a very insightful talk. I learned a lot of things today. Now, for those of you who may have any questions for Dr. Akima, please put your questions in the comment section and put it in the chat. And what we will do is we will answer all those questions together later. So Dr. Akima, as well as our second guest, would actually answer these questions together later on. Now, very quickly, Dr. Akima, I just want to touch base with you on some of the things that you mentioned, right? Because you did say something very interesting about encouraging the fluidity in conversations, how some people only like to talk about certain things as opposed to, being able to talk about anything, right? So
Yeah.
what would be like your suggestion for such people? Because I know a lot of people who, well, even myself included, sometimes I just feel like not talking about too many things. I have like a certain set of things that I prefer talking about, right? So what would
Yeah, me
your
too.
suggestion be?
Yeah, so it's like as we age we actually develop our thinking. Yeah, we develop our thinking, what we like, what we don't like. Okay, certain people that we like, certain people we don't like, things like that. Okay, so I found this interesting. There are people who meet the new people and let that new people talk.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's how you can maintain a conversation. Okay, so when you see one people, let's say I meet John. Okay, you say, hello John, how are you? So I can ask John, so John, how's your day today? Okay, so I said, okay, let's say John say I went somewhere shopping. Where? Okay, so start to have questions to that person, so that that person answer you. Okay, so when that person answer you throw a lot of questions, so that they feel like um they are important,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right? Okay, so when you ask them and they feel that they are important, sometimes you might feel that I have found some connection there. Okay, but then not really much, because some new people that you meet, there must be something during that conversation when you ask, there's might be something that caught your attention.
mm-hmm,
Okay,
mm-hmm.
maybe not much, yeah, but maybe something that caught your connection. But don't worry if you don't know what that person is talking about. Sometimes that person talk about something that you don't know. So ask them again, what do you mean by that?
Right.
Okay, what
So
do you
so it's
mean by this?
basically just throwing out questions to sort of continue the conversation in some sense.
Yeah, continue the
Mm-hmm,
conversation by asking questions. Yeah, but the people who doesn't like to socialize sometimes don't like to ask questions.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right, because they feel like I don't like to ask questions, but having in a conversation is good to ask questions and then let the person answer you. Okay, so
Right,
that's how,
right.
because if you see again, if you meet 3%, let's say 3%, and you ask them, okay, and you actually find some connection somewhere. Yeah, so that's how
Mm-hmm,
you sort of practice some fluidity in your thoughts. Gitu, oh, I
mm-hmm.
met that person. That person talk about football, something like that. Okay, something like that. Okay, so that's how fluid your conversations can be. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Akima. I'll take that tip.
Okay.
It's a very interesting one. So I'm gonna now introduce the second speaker for today. So yeah. Our second speaker for today is Dr. Sangeeta Singh. She's the president for Her Wellbeing Society, Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. She's also the vice president of communications for Gurdwara Sahib Putrajaya Society and the honorary secretary for Malaysian Healthy Aging Society. She's also an academic that teaches epidemiology and public health medicine, and a graduate. She holds a graduate certificate in anthropology and sociology and a PhD in medicine. Now, she has been teaching the Master of Science Public Health program since 2018, and she's also involved with the health, behavior, patient safety as well. And she's facilitated capacity building activities that enhanced medical professional knowledge, enhancing primary interventions focused on a holistic system that helps manage non-communicable diseases within private and public sphere. So again, without further ado, let's bring Dr. Sangeeta Singh to the stage. Hello, Dr. Sangeeta.
Hi, thank you. I'm just going to quickly share my slides as well.
Right.
Can the organizer give me an option to share PowerPoint rather than a video file so that I can share that now? Thank you. Can you see my presentation now?
Yep.
Okay.
Clear.
Firstly, allow me to thank the organizer. What a nice blend of individuals. We have a very young, beautiful Dr. Hakima, who just gave her talk just a few minutes ago. And John has the gender balance as well, a gentleman moderating the whole session. So well done for coordinating this talk. And thank you for inviting me here. I'm going to talk a little bit about public health. This is my expertise area, and I'm going to focus it around well-being, especially on key factors such as self-care and self-resilience. Without these two, it's very hard to zoom in into what can be improved and what can we do as individuals to improve the social connectivity in our lives. Before I go into that, let me just emphasize a little bit more, following up from what Dr. Hakima has mentioned earlier. Why must I worry about social connection? Well, the science around this has indicated for a fact if you want to grow old healthily, if you want to age well, if you want to maintain a well balance, these are few key factors that you must take into consideration. For instance, you must look at the ability of maintaining physical and mental health. Now, Dr. Hakima has mentioned this briefly just now, that how relevant it is. Social connection is a big part of keeping our mental health accurately engaged, using our cognitive ability to stay updated with information, using the right side of the brains to help us to age properly. Now, healthy aging also incorporates the fact that we must care also about our declining health as we age. For instance, we know Malaysian is taking the cake on non-communicable diseases. Three main diseases is our key factors to consider on: high blood pressure, high blood glucose, and also high cholesterol. Well, we are Malaysians, we cannot do without our food. But a well balance around these aspects using social connectivity is doable. For instance, if you want to maintain a good physical health, you need a good social connection with some individuals who keep you on your feet, who you can meet on a regular basis, so you do regular physical activities and so on. For the mental health, you can talk, explore, gossip, and also listen at how people are managing their day-to-day lives. And then, of course, social connection is also emphasizing the quality of our lifestyle. Now, this is very important from the womb to the tomb. Social connectivity is something that we have to maintain as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, and then as an older adult. So this aspect is very important throughout our life, right? Now, sticking on to why social connection is important, this is relevant towards the protective factor, the emotional well-being of our mental health. We have to ensure that we are not only maintaining social connection in terms of quantity. Now, Malaysia is well known to be the biggest population with the most friends on Facebook. We made history on this. We have the most friends, and a lot of people come to our Facebook and we comment, we share, we like. But what about the quality? We may have 200 friends on our Facebook account. What about the quality of connection, the closeness among these friends? Do we interact with them positively? Do we enhance our relationship over time? And how do we maintain? I just saw a question just now from one of the audience as well. How do we maintain this during the pandemic? How do we ensure we continue this aspect in our life? Well, let's talk a little bit more of why this is important. Now, evidence has indicated that social connectivity, in fact, is linked to premature mortality. It is very important to use the cognitive part of our brains. Why? Because we all know we deal with daily stresses. It amazes me when somebody asks me, Dr. Sunita, are you stressed? My answer usually will be, pinpoint one individual who do not experience stress in a day-to-day basis. Everybody has stresses. Life is not easy. Day-to-day things can increase stress. But if you manage this well, then what will happen is there will be increase in cortisol levels that will release these calming effects on your nervous system. And how can you do this? Obviously, with the social connection. Now, this, I'm going to be a little bit biased here. I'm going to talk a little bit about women because we know women are the key household protectors. And evidence have indicated they are the decision makers in the household as well, especially when it comes to health. But unfortunately, they forget to care for themselves. Self care is a very, very important factor. Women are taught from very young, care for your siblings, care for your family, maintain a good nature so that people will look at you gracefully, sustain this, and then you get to know a partner, you take care of your partner, and then you get married, you have kids, you can, but you forget about yourself. Self-care, it's a very broad concept, but it talks about hygiene. When I talk about hygiene, I just don't talk about keeping a shower and keeping your clothes clean. It's also the environment around you. How hygienic is the environment around you, especially during pandemic time, we are in close environment all the time. It's very important to keep a healthy hygiene around you. Nutrition, I know women always tell me, yeah, Dr. Sangeeta, nutrition are very expensive. Cannot. But by right, even nasi lemak is a nutritional meal, provided you have the well-balanced stuff on your table or on your plate, the cucumber, the nuts, and also the protein. If you have that, it's equally a nutritional meal. So don't associate cost to it. Google it up and you will find a lot of nutritional meals that can be used. Now, lifestyle, I've spoken a little bit about this. Balance of, physical activity with your social connectivity is very, very important. Environmental factors, taking a walk in the garden is also very important for your mental health. Looking at a green stuff calms you down. Socioeconomic factors, of course, we need that money to keep us balanced as well, but manage it well. There needs to be a balance holistically, not only one factor. Now, self-medication is an important factor as well. A lot of us are becoming internet doctors. We survey and we find and we think we know what we are doing, but be very careful about this. Seek professional advice when it comes to self-medication. Okay? Now, I want to leave you with one very important key factor, self-reliance. Now, the last generation, the current generation, the coming generation, we all have certain patterns. Sometimes we accidentally, not knowing, take away the ability of individuals living independently, thinking independently. We must not do that. The helicopter parenting concept that is going around within these days, parents, constantly helping your children with your exams, constantly helping them to study, constantly running around them, doing things for them. You are not teaching them self-reliance skills, which is very important for an individual to maintain some form of social connectivity so they're independent enough to go out of the household, have a relationship, and know what to do and how to think. Embracing your individuality. These days we hear a lot about this, isn't it? He, she, him, her, all this. Allow them to embrace it. Your parents may, like me, become very selective after some time, but don't worry about that. As long as they have some form of balance, that's okay. Allow them to embrace their individuality, striving towards your own goals. Everyone should have their own goals, and you should allow them to have maybe short-term goals, long-term goals. But sometimes people say, "Nah, we don't know whether we're going to live tomorrow or not." Well, what if you do? Set up some goals so you can plan towards it as well. All these aspects are very, very important in maintaining the social connectedness. Okay? Obviously, there is virtual platforms, there is face-to-face interaction. As long as you abide by the SOPs, as long as you follow, you can have social face-to-face interaction. Keep that 1 meter distance, have a communication, go out in open doors, so that you keep your mask on, abide by the safety rules, but still interact with people. Well, virtual connection is not even difficult these days. There are a lot of platforms for the elderly to use to stay in touch with each other. If they don't like showcasing themselves on the virtual platform, it's okay. You have these so-called avatars that you can use these days, and in a social environment which is built on a virtual platforms. A lot of such programs have come to life. Just find them on the internet and you will be able to see this. Now, also there was a question about, some of the elderly are not very good with IT. Please, please rethink this. If you look around you, you will see your elderly are most of the time on their phones. But what are they doing? WhatsApp and Facebook. They do know a little bit about IT. Now all you have to do is embrace the learning concept and the thinking ability to get them onto the right platforms where they have right evidence-based information and they can share that with their friends and all that. They can check the facts before they do the sharing as well. All right? Now, I will leave you with the last bit. We are actually, the Malaysian Healthy Aging Society, are bringing together 72 experts from 15 to 17 March in our own paradise island, Kuala Penang. And we're going to have a conference which is actually meant for all type of individuals, the NGO, the communities, the experts, the allied healthcare workers, the doctors, and so on. And we are really emphasizing on a way forward, and social connectivity will be a big part of this discussion. Now, once again, I'd like to thank the host for inviting me for this talk, and I hope it was useful to you as it was for me preparing for this. Thank you. Back to the moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta. That was a really very informative and refreshing talk. So, what particularly caught my attention was the part where you talked about self-reliance, right? Especially in older people, and I noticed this. I think it's also probably also a cultural thing, but we want to look after our parents a lot more, and sometimes in the process of looking after them, we forget the self-reliance aspect. What do you have to say about that, Dr. Sangeeta?
That's a very important fact that you have just brought up. I was just expressing the same thought with my other half this afternoon. I was telling him how important it is to, not take away the independency away from our parents. We need to actually embrace the fact that they need to do the day-to-day activities. They need to get engaged in this actively. Taking away that aspect. Sometimes we think we are doing good by telling them, don't bother about marketing. Don't bother about driving here and there. It's very dangerous for you. Tell me, and I'll take you here and there, and I'll do your marketing for you. But what you're doing actually is increasing the dependency on you and taking away their individuality. Now, that is actually leaving a very bad impact on their health, their mental health, and their physical health. By limiting this aspect between our parents, we are not doing them any favors. We are not being good children. In fact, we are the barriers for them to live healthily. So, yes, we need to change that mentality, the Asian mentality where we think we know best. We need to actually allow the individuals to tell us what is comfortable with them, what they can do on their own, and how we can help them, not the other way around.
Thanks for that, Dr. Sangeeta. Now, we are open for questions. Now, if any of you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. We've got one question from Susie here. I'm going to read it out. With the current situation of the pandemic, many elderly who are not IT savvy are not able to connect or socialize with their friends or peers. How can we address the situation, and what are your suggestions? So I guess this is maybe to both Dr. Akima as well as Dr. Sangeeta, maybe. And maybe Dr. Sangeeta can go first.
Yeah, thank you. Like I was just saying, I actually read this question in the chats just now. And, firstly, I think the audience are fantastic, well done people. You're really very actively engaged. Yes, like I was just saying, we often think this. We think that, oh, there's not enough internet coverage in Malaysia. It's only good in the urban area, but that's not true. There is coverage outside of Malaysian urban areas as well. But you might not be so educated to have a conference or something like that, but it's there. The elderly can access it. This is our assumption that we think that the elderly are not IT savvy. I honestly did a research during the pandemic and I spoke to key elderly people in Klang Valley area and also in Johor Bahru, in a very semi-urban area. And all of them were telling me the same thing. They said they have access to smartphone. They use their smartphone to communicate with their family, with their loved one, with their friends. They use WhatsApp messaging. They are using Facebook all the time, and they share information among them. So yes, I agree. There are a small percentage of elderly who are still not IT savvy, especially at the later age around, once you go, you transition, which I'm going to do very soon, into the 70s and the 90s, you think that I cannot be bothered with all this. Most of my friends are dead and gone. Who do I want to talk to? But the ones who are slightly younger than that, there's a bigger percentage of them who's using IT. So you know what we need as children, we need to be patient with our parents. We need to teach them. And sometimes it's better to get the grandchildren to teach them because you know why? They are more patient with our parents rather than we are. And then get them to do the introduction. And they are much more, they will go through it step by step with their grandparents and show them how to use it. So let's work together with them and show them how to use it. Just don't assume that they don't know how to use it. Akima, maybe you can add some information there as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dr. Sangeeta. Grandchildren are better teacher than us. Yeah, we are less patient compared to our grandchildren. Um, and then what I may add is this is where we when the older people is not IT savvy, it is basically a golden opportunity for us to interfere. Means intergenerational gap, yeah, grandchildren, children, and the grandparents. Learning something new. New number two is volunteerism, how the community basically who know how to use internet make a class to teach older people who doesn't know how to use this IT or these apps, so they learn together. So this is how you do it. This is how you do it. No, don't push that button. Push this button. You grow together. Yeah. So I think that should be doable. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Akima. And is there any other questions? Yes, we have another one from Vivian Tay. Is there a way to help an elderly who is immobile not to feel lonely or no one to talk to whilst the carer also had to do other housework tasks? So yes, open to both. Maybe,
I may
yeah.
answer that first. Yeah, because this is a daily situation in my clinic. So elderly who is immobile, we have to know how they communicate. Okay, how they communicate. Some people immobile because of knee pain, but still can move the hands. Okay, can talk, can understand conversations. Okay, these are the people who basically we can teach on social networking. Okay, some simple Google Meet. Okay, even WhatsApp video call. Okay, so these are the ways that we can reduce the loneliness. Social connection via internet, okay, via virtual platform. However, if the patient is immobile with cognitive impairment, yeah, Dr. Sangeeta talked about cognitive ability just now, self-resilience, okay. So if you are immobile and you are really dependent, you don't have that self-resilience, kan Dr. Sangeeta? You are self-insufficient, you cannot talk, you have reduced cognitive ability in the terms that you cannot communicate well with others. So that is the challenge. Okay, you will feel lonely because people cannot understand what you want to say, and you also cannot tell people what you feel. So there's a communication breakdown there. Yeah, so that is quite a challenge where people who are immobile need the caregiver or friends. Okay, comes talk to them because they cannot use all this virtual platform really using independently unless you open the Google Meet for them and then they talk, something like that. Okay, that's possible as well. Okay, but it all depends on how you are able to be independent in terms of handling all this virtual platform, and how is your cognitive ability to receive um, uh, information, to give back information, things like that. Old people who are immobile has higher chance to have depression, to get depressed because of these issues. Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe
That's
Sanjita wants to
absolutely
add.
true, and I agree with whatever she have just said. This is why I think that prevention is definitely, better than cure. We need to live healthily, not only just the end aspect of our life. We need to start from a very early beginning so that we don't become, we don't have problems with mobility at a later age. Number one is that. Number two is, when I talked about the social connectivity, how important it is to everyone. So that's why this carer, the person who's in the household with this person who's immobile, also needs social connection. So it's always good to get the immobile person into some kind of, method to get them out of the house and start some kind of social connectivity. We do that with our children, right? When they are toddlers, we lift them up, we put them in a car seat, we get them to going, we put them in a wheelchair. Oh, sorry, wheelchair, but that is for me. For the kids, we put them in the pram and then we get them going. We allow them to connect with other children as well. So when we do that, why can't we do the same for our parents? Now, technology has come very, very far. And the government, thank God, we are in Malaysia, is really helping some of these individuals. If you're immobile, they will give you the relevant support to ensure that you are able to, get the required support to get you out of your bed into a wheelchair and get you out and moving a little bit as much as possible. So we can tap into that kind of support. So it's very important to talk to Dr. Hakima and her colleagues, the geriatricians, who can actually tell you what kind of support there is from the government, from the NGOs, from agencies who are supporting these kind of talks, to tell you what is available. Because even in today's day and age, even the cognitive impairment has come up so, open up a lot of opportunities for us. We have a face recognition sort of technology that can tell us whether you are depressed, whether what are the issues that we must take into consideration. So there's a lot out there. It's just that you need to stay in connect with your healthcare providers so they can let you know what can work and what cannot work for you. All right, I hope that helps.
Thank you, Dr. Sangita. Yeah, another question from Patricia Lim. Speaking of individuality, sometimes I feel that my parents are too stubborn to accept suggestions. Any methods to change that?
I will go first since I'm the one which is a parent as well. Yes, okay, Dr. Hakima. The thing is, we become used to certain ways, certain things in our life. We are very comfortable in our zone. So this is why sometimes I encourage people to go out of their comfort zone, try something new every now and then, because we don't become that rigid individuals, later part where we don't want to try anything. But that's okay. But one thing about connectivity and social connection is try not to tell your parents what to do. Get them friends in the household under safety guidelines, obviously, and let them talk to them. Let them communicate among them. Choose a peer for your parents and allow that peer to come into the conversation and explain how important this is. You know what? I'm sure Dr. Hajma is experiencing this as well. We may be the doctors in our household, but our family will never come to us for advice. They only listen to their own doctors. They will go externally and find experts. So it's better to connect them with their own age group, with some of the people who can help do this or, mobilize this kind of change between them. And the spirituality, Dr. Hajma has touched this very quickly. We Asian, we tend to join some kind of spiritual groups, some group, the people who come around us, get them engaged in this aspect as well and tell them, talk to them. Children need to talk to them and say, look, I'm concerned about my parents, mood swing, her stubbornness and all that. She's not willing to do anything. Can you please interact with her and see how you can help her? or no miss again, go turn to experts and they will help you manage this as well. Dr. Hakima, would you like to add on?
No, I totally agree with that. So basically, you can ask them to attend this series of webinars, maybe some thoughts from the experts rather than the kids. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, oh, there's a good webinars on, like social connectivity and things like that. Or there's a good talk about, IT, how you connect, things like that. So maybe you can just ask your parents, just sit with you together, watch the webinars, things like that. Maybe they might open up and say that, oh, there is another world out there, who might think like the kids, and the kids thought it's not that bad. Yeah, you can just take into considerations.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta and Dr. Akima. All right, so I think that's all the questions that we have for today. So yeah, I want to say thank you again to both Dr. Sangeeta and Dr. Akima for such an amazing, fruitful discussion today. I think it was very helpful for a lot of people here today. So thanks once again. Now, before we reveal the winners for the lucky draw that we had, we're going to play a video from the sponsors. So maybe we could have the video. All right. So to those who are our lucky winners, you will be receiving the defense kit that you just saw earlier. So these are our winners. We've got Pua CL, Lily Lu Lee Neo, Vivian Tay, Susie Koo, Amira Anwar, Lily Fu, Lulu Go, Ahmad Kamil Yusuf, Esther Chin, and Maizatul Akmal Otman. Now, for all the winners, you will be contacted by the organizing team, so please stay tuned for that. And this is the prize that you'll be receiving, the mini travel kit by Defense Antibacterial. All right. So before we end for today, I would like to remind you to join us again for the next detox session, and that will be on independent living and living arrangements for the elderly. Now, for this session, you will have Mark Chen, who is the General Manager of Commune Living and Wellness. You also have James Dunn, who is the CEO of Suntrack Development, and it'll be moderated by Associate Professor Dr. Ayati Kadir Shanar. So yeah, please join us again next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Same time from on Facebook Live. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us today.